You film something, it's like it may never come out, it may never actually happen. And sometimes I'll be sitting on set doing nothing and I'm like, I could have filmed 45 YouTube videos right now while I'm just sitting and waiting for someone to call action.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forbes Top Creator. I'm Forbes Assistant Managing Editor Stephen Bertoni, here with Justine Ezerick, otherwise known as iJustine.
Yay!
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for having me.
So iJustine is an old school creator. We're talking 2007, back when they were called vloggers, or what was the other term for that?
I mean, well, so then, because I was on like iJustine TV doing like the live streaming, so they called us Lifecasters.
Lifecasters.
Yeah, I mean, that was so early.
So Justine, old school Lifecaster, 2007. Now she has a super popular tech YouTube channel where she not only reviews all the gadgets, all the trends, but it lands serious interviews. We're talking Apple's Tim Cook. We're talking Spotify's Daniel Ek. You're like a real tech journalist. I'm jealous. iJustine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is super fun.
So let's start out. You said you were a Lifecaster. That takes me back to the days.
Now, when people say that, I'm like kind of cringing. I'm like, oh, no, it just like sounds so weird to say or to like even hear it because it was like such a long time ago. So yeah, so iJustine TV, which turned into Twitch TV. I was one of the second people that was live casting. So I streamed for 6 months straight, basically 24/7. I would never do that again, but it was so fun because you really connected with your audience in like a whole different way.
What were you, like, tell me what were you, like a typical thing you would post, and not post, like live stream? Like did you have were these iPhones or this was before iPhones?
Oh my God, this was 2007. So it was like right sort of in that iPhone time frame. I would just take people through my day. And then I wasn't.
With like a camera, like video camera?
Oh yeah, so it was a laptop connected to a webcam that was connected to a hat that I wore and basically just kind of took them through my day. And I was still doing like freelance graphic design and editing.
So you wore a hat?
Yes.
That had a webcam like on the bill?
Yeah, but then I kind of use that as like a tripod. So if I was at a restaurant, I would like put the hat on like the ketchup bottle and that would kind of look at the scene with me and my friends. So yeah, that was like 2007.
How'd you get into that?
I ran into the guy, Justin Kahn, who started it at Macworld in San Francisco. And at the time I was doing YouTube videos and I'm like, this is so cool. I don't have to edit. I can just live stream. I mean, live streaming obviously is a whole nother set of challenges,
yes, but
it was just such a fun experiment at the time.
What were you doing at the time when you got recruited to do this stuff?
I had, I think, just quit my job and kind of like really was kind of going in on.
What was your job?
I was a video editor at a chiropractor office.
Video editor at a chiropractor's office?
Yes.
For one office?
It was, yeah. They kind of like made commercials for other chiropractors.
Okay.
And I was like a really fast video editor. So what would take most people maybe like 2 days, it would take me 1 day. So I had all this like free time. So I'd like kind of taught myself to edit in Final Cut, which we were using Avid at the time.
Okay.
So I kind of like was honing my skills in my free time and started making, YouTube videos there. So
you get free back work from doing that?
Basically, I mean, it was just like, well, I don't have anything else to do, so I'll just kind of teach myself Final Cut.
Wow, wild. And so you started this life casting. Did that change your life?
I think it did. It definitely gave me a lot of anxiety because when I quit doing it, you still felt like people were watching you. So, I mean, for 6 months straight, people were. So after that, it was just like this weird, like paranoid feeling and like always being super self-conscious. So that took years to kind of get out of. But I think that whole experience was so much fun because it really was such an early time of the internet that no one else was doing that.
How did you evolve from the Lifecaster to building iJustine to building your YouTube empire?
Yeah, so I started, I bought the domain in 2002. So I've had the iJustine domain for a while. I mean, 22
years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
And then I made like my first website when I was probably in 6th grade. So that was way before that. And so I just had always had this like love of tech.
Okay.
And I think it was like around like the MySpace kind of time is when like iJustine kind of came about because Justine was taken.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, well, iPod, I love Apple. I'll just throw an I in front of it.
Wow, okay.
And I just kind of started posting content. And when I found YouTube, that's when I really felt like there was community. I started getting engagement. There was comments. And I was like, oh, wow, people are watching these weird videos that I'm making.
And were you doing tech videos back then? Or were you doing more still life casting or?
No, I mean, I was just kind of like filming stuff throughout the day.
Okay.
And it was more, I really started that channel because I was kind of like teaching myself to edit. Like I had said, I was editing at the chiropractor's office and then teaching myself this other platform. And then I started posting it. And it was really just kind of sharing stuff with my friends that we thought was funny. And it just evolved.
Wow. Now, fast forward to me today. What is the iJustine business right now? How many followers you have, sort of your cadence? Tell me what goes on there.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting because I think the last few years I've kind of been in that. I feel like, okay, so because I've been doing this for so long, I feel like every 5 to 7 years, I feel like there's like a shift of like, okay, I need to reassess what do I like to do? What is working and what do people like? So I guess now I have like a very small team. Like I still edit a lot of my own videos, which people, they don't believe it and they get mad. They're like, you should just hire a bunch of editors. But it's something that I really, truly love. So being able to kind of like have a bunch of footage and storytell out of that, it's so rewarding. Do
you still edit on Final Cut?
I do still edit on Final Cut. Yeah.
I'm learning CapCut. I feel very cool and very Gen Z with my CapCut.
Right? Yeah, but the CapCut's awesome. Yeah. And it's so cool because you can do a lot on the phone as well, and then it also translates to the computer. And so
tell me, and what am I going to find in your channel? Like, I love how you do tech, how you decide what to feature, like, and what's your team like?
Yeah, so it is pretty much tech, but I feel like for me it's like tech, travel, and sort of fun. So I think my channel
That's a good lifestyle play. I like that.
It really is. So I just think that there's so much tech in pretty much everything. So if I want to do sort of a day in the life vlog, I work that into a product review. So it could be a review of a new camera. Well, here's my day in the life using this new camera.
Give me an example of what you did, the last one you did.
I did a day in the life wearing a Vision Pro.
Okay.
So I wore the Vision Pro all day and showed like how I used it and took it into my daily life.
Did people like stop you in the street?
I think this was a time where people were kind of used to it, and it's LA, so I was just another person doing weird stuff.
And you just wore it all day with the Vision Pro?
Yes.
And you can see okay through it?
You could see, but I didn't drive with it, just to put that out there. Yes, to be safe. But yeah, things like that.
And tell me about how you decide, like, I'm going to feature this product on your show.
A lot of it is when new stuff comes out, it's like you want to be sort of like the first person to be able to get your hands on it. That helps with search. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of the creators are known for getting this stuff ahead of time. So they're like, okay, as soon as the iPhone comes out, we know we have to go to Justine's channel because she's going to have content about it.
Tell me about how does this work with I want to get into this later, but your relationship with these big tech companies. Like, obviously, it's very hard to get these things early, but you've really built up a credibility and relationships with these teams. How does it work? Like, tell me when you get, like, I'm sure you're one of the first to get a Vision Pro. Let's stay with that. Like, did you get a call from Apple? Like, we're going to send you this super secret, like, in embargoed black box with it in, and you can test it out, but you can't show it to anybody. And I'm sure your name's like stenciled on it. So if it gets stolen, then like, how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, usually that process is also super secretive as well. But, working with brands like that, I mean, you have to be a trusted source. And I feel like, if you're not, they're not going to be able to send you these things.
Yeah.
So obviously you're signing NDAs, they send you products early, they give you a date to release, and then you just kind of hustle and get content out for the embargo date.
That's so cool. What's been like the biggest, I mean, as a tech expert, what are some of the coolest gadgets in the last decade that have been the most life-changing? I'm sure it's obvious, yes, the iPhone has changed everything, social media, but what sort of things have really stood out to you?
I feel like health tech. That's, I think, this next year where I'm going to focus a lot of my energy. I've been doing a lot of sort of personal research on myself, and I haven't actually published a lot of my findings and things like that. So it's kind of, I feel like being able to take your health into your own hands is going to be so important going forward, and just being able to use tech and AI to be able to identify things before it becomes a problem is going to be life-changing for so many people.
What is your favorite health tech thing out there right now?
I love the Oura Ring. It's just something that's so small.
I see. Yeah.
So it tracks your sleep, it tracks your blood oxygen level, it'll auto detect activities that you're doing, and it's just a really great, easy way to kind of gauge that overall, how you're doing.
And I see you have an Apple Watch. I have an Apple Watch. Is it like you're competing sensors coming in, different information?
Not really. They work so well together because it's like it all kind of goes into HealthKit, and I think that's what's so awesome about sort of the whole Apple ecosystem right now. Like, they're doing so much in the health space, and to be able to take all of these wearables and be able to have it all in one place is it's just a dream come true.
While we're on Apple, I want to talk Tim Cook. So Tim Cook has been like a Forbes white whale. we've been lucky enough at Forbes. I've done like over 15 cover stories on top, founders and CEOs. We've covered my team, like the Forbes team has had all the CEOs, but never Tim Cook. I feel like the joke is the head of Apple PR gets paid a lot of money to say no to everybody, but you've scored that. Tell me, how did that come about? And first of all, tell me, how did you get a special, time with Tim Cook, which is very, very rare?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that Apple reached out as an opportunity, and they said, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, yes, of course." And it's great because I think Tim also is so understanding and supportive of creators as well. Yeah. And I think that he really realizes that, this is sort of the future, and it's great that, Apple was kind of being able to bring in more creators and even more of the events that we go to. It's just we're seeing more and more people and more newer creators that are getting an opportunity and a chance to review this stuff.
What did you and Tim do together?
We did. So I think that was the iPad, when the first iPad came out, and that was still during. Actually, I did 2 interviews. So the first time was virtual.
Okay.
And yes, I was very nervous, but it was virtual. So I was like, okay, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And that was kind of like in pandemic times. And then the last time was at an Apple event. And, we just kind of chatted and talked kind of like high level about, what he's excited about, different product launches. And yeah, it was really fun.
I think we're finding we're not getting into politics here. Don't worry, I promise. But obviously, this last election has showed like the blur between mainstream media and then also creators, podcasters, YouTube stars that are getting these giant interviews with presidential candidates that used to be, for 60 Minutes or CNN or Forbes. Do you see yourself as a journalist?
So it's interesting because when I first started making YouTube videos, I was like embarrassed to tell people like what I did. And so I was like, okay, journalist is respected. So I just told people that I was a journalist. And so now, this was like 2007.
Okay.
And so now, I mean, I definitely feel like because I've been doing this for so long and actually have all these interviews that I think that that's actually a title that I can probably claim now.
Yeah. And did you do a lot of like research before? Like it's interesting. Like, you're getting these great interviews with Daniel Ek, with Sundar from Google, with Tim Cook. Like, what do you want? Like when you go into it, like how do you prep? And also, like, do you have a certain couple things that you really want to get from them, or do you just have a conversation natural and see where it goes?
Most of the time, it's kind of like a conversation, and it's like I live in this world, so I kind of like to find like how they work with people and like what inspires them and what inspires sort of that culture, because I think it's so important having from the top kind of, having that bleed into sort of the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I mean, I definitely do prep depending upon what it's for, but a lot of times it's just like, we're just 2 people having a conversation. Like, how's your day?
How are you? That's so cool. That's good advice to journalists out there.
Yeah.
How do you see kind of like quote mainstream media and the YouTube world kind of blending together, or are they coming apart? How do you see that?
I mean, I think it is blending together because I feel like we're seeing a lot of more, top different establishments like hiring creators or making more of that kind of, I guess, like user-generated content and, not doing huge productions. It's like you're just going out with your phone, getting the shot and posting it. And I think that's really ideally like what it is. And even for me as a creator who has been doing this for so long, I'm always so concerned about like making sure the lighting's perfect, making sure the audio's great. And I sometimes just have to be like, look, drop it, just go and film and get it and post it.
Yeah, so tell me about, like, you've been doing this for so long and you edit your own stuff. I love that. What is your, like, the iJustine operation like? Do you have a giant crew? Is it kind of just more, skeleton crew? What's a filming like?
Yeah, no, it's pretty small. I mean, I usually just have like one other camera person, or we'll have an assistant depending upon how busy we are. Yeah, it's pretty small. And I have like one other consistent editor, shooter that I work with, but it's a lot of times it's like I'll go shoot something and I'll edit that night and turn it around for the next day. So it really depends.
It's good. I like keep it tight, keep it light. What is the iJustine business? How do you make money?
A lot of it is through brand deals, which has been really fun because I love kind of like having, I don't know, it's like the brands have this idea and they're like, hey, how do we integrate this into something that you're already doing? And a lot of times it's brands that I already love. Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to tell them, like, I would have made this video anyway. But being able to...
Never tell them that.
No, I know. Yeah. Shh, you guys don't know this. But being able to like make something fun and kind of tell their story is something that's so rewarding at the end.
You mentioned like I always hear from these creators that like the best way for brands to work with creators is freedom. Be like, let the creators create. let them do their thing. Like, how do your partnerships work? And like, what advice do you have for brands and CMOs out there that want to work with like top creators like yourself?
Yeah, but I think it's like a partnership. Like there is give and take. It's communication, and I'm lucky that I do have a really great team, like a management team that helps like negotiate a lot of that. He's over there, Patar. Hello, which we've been working together for how long now?
15 years. You're an old school agent in that sense too.
Yep. So
very cool.
It's been fun because it's like now he knows what I will do or what I won't do and is able to sort of like negotiate that kind of stuff in. And it is just a conversation. And a lot of times I'll be like, ooh, that's great that you think that's going to work, but I don't think that's the best idea. And my audience is going to make fun of me. And then sometimes they won't push back, and then I end up having to get made fun of because they really wanted this specific line or something in.
What have you ever had like wild offers for like either brands that are just wacky or brands that just are so not your brand?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of weird things. I'm like, have you watched my channel? Or they will sometimes it'll be another person's or another channel's name, and it's like, oh, I don't think that's for me. Yeah. But thanks.
But thanks. I want to get into this. Like you mentioned, I want to talk about community because you mentioned like, remind me again, how many subscribers do you have?
On YouTube, like over 7 million. 7 million.
And you said like you don't want this brand doesn't want you to say this line because your community will make fun of me.
Yes.
How would you describe your community? What are like the demographics?
It's interesting because it has shifted a lot, but I do have a younger demographic and also a pretty heavy female demographic too. And considering that I'm doing a lot of tech, it's really cool to kind of be able to blend both of that.
And are they like, obviously you've mentioned like, are they very tech savvy? Like, do you get a lot of people like commenting on everything you do, everything you say? Is there,
for sure.
Is it hate? How do you deal with that?
I mean, there's always hate, but there is the nice mute button. I don't like to block because then they know that I've seen the comment. But I think they're pretty tech savvy, but I think a lot of them, like I'm making content that I want to see. Like I love the specs, but I want to see how it works.
Okay.
So great, this camera has this, but what does it look like? How does it going to fit into my day? How's it going to work in my workflow?
So when you create, do you like you just mentioned, do you make videos that you yourself want to see, or do you think about your community as well?
It's a little of both.
Okay.
And I think there is a lot of give and take because sometimes I will make videos that I want to make and they don't do very well, and I'll know that. So it's kind of a little balance you have to do. Besides,
I know you've been doing this forever. What tips do you have for building community? It's so important. Forbes is a media brand, wants to build it, whether it's through our Under 30 franchise, through top creators, through our Pyro Women, you name it. Like, it's very important. How have you built this like community of 7 million fans?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky because I started so early, and back then I was doing a lot of the vlogging and the life casting, so people felt really included in my life and they felt like they knew everything, which was great, but that's not great for people's mental health. So I feel like over the last few years, I've kind of pulled back and not posted a lot of like about my private life and things like that. And I think that's hard because that does kind of take you away from your community a little bit. So there does have to be some sort of a balance of, giving yourself, but also not giving too much that it kind of takes away from, yourself.
Talk about that psychological aspect. Like, so what happened? You would kind of let people in and it would just be, tell me about the downside of that.
Yeah. I mean, this was probably like 2017 maybe. I kind of like stopped posting as much. It was like they felt like they had ownership over you. Like if someone was in your video, they were like, well, we don't like them. I'm like, well, that's like my best friend. Like you can't say that. Or, just finding my family and just like bothering people. And it can be very invasive. So it's like, okay, I'm the one that has decided to do this. So like if you're going to make fun of anyone or say anything, like say it to me, leave my family out of it. Just this is it.
Do you get like picked do you get noticed in the street when you go out?
Yeah, pretty, not too often. And I feel like it's a great balance because it's not too much, but it's also like I can still, unless I go to like the Apple Store or Best Buy, then I was like, that's where my people are at.
Yeah, you'd be like you should like undercover as like a Best Buy, like what are they called, the Geeks? What are the Geek
the
Squad?
Geek Squad. Oh no, I'm one of them. Yeah, no, we go in there, I'm like high-fiving, like it's great.
What advice do you have for people? Because it's such a tricky thing where everyone in social media is like, you have to be credible, you have to kind of be yourself, which is it's kind of cliche, but like, how do you create a link to your community, but also kind of create that important separation where you still have your privacy, you still have yourself? I
mean, that's a challenge I feel like I'm still dealing with, having been doing this for almost like 20 years. I think it's something personal to everyone, and I feel like you aren't going to know how far to push it until you push it, and you're like, oh shoot, like I got to back up. So I think it's just kind of like use your judgment. And I think asking people if they're okay to be on camera is really important because it is a huge responsibility. You know, it's like these people don't realize that they're going to be exposed to millions of people if they're in like this Instagram story or something like that. So it's a huge responsibility. And I think you'll know when it's too much, but I think just, you know, kind of just remember that anything you post, it's not going to go away.
It's there forever.
It is there forever.
Yes.
You can delete it, but it's somewhere.
It's fascinating that you're a top YouTube creator, and YouTube is having such a moment right now. I think it always has, but right now people are realizing that it's a super streamer, it's super podcast. More people now watch YouTube on their TVs at home than they watch Netflix. I mean, this is a massive thing. And I know everyone's changing to optimize on YouTube. Like, what are you doing now on YouTube? Are you changing anything that you do to kind of get into that wave, or you just keep on doing what has worked for you in the past?
I mean, I feel like I change up something all the time, and I'm always doing something different. And I think that's why I've been able to do this for so long, because YouTube is always changing. I feel like I'm always changing. So it's like I have a new interest, I feel like every other month. So it's fun to kind of integrate that into my content. And, you know, it's fun that they now have shorts and that they have extended that to 3 minutes, because I feel like I've been creating a lot more short form content over the last couple of years, just because there's so many more platforms that support that. But it's just exciting because it does feel like each platform offers a little bit something different as far as community. But YouTube has been sort of that steady, consistent place to go to actually make money.
True, because like shorts are great, but I hear from everyone it's getting better, but there's still no money in shorts.
Right, exactly.
So how do you know, as an entrepreneur, what is your strategy with, like, obviously the bread and butter is like your long form YouTube reviews or YouTube videos, but then there's also TikTok, there's Instagram, there's shorts. How do you use those shorts to kind of funnel into the bread and butter?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be making a video for like Instagram and be like, go watch the full one on YouTube, but I still will cut down a good portion of it because a lot of times people don't translate over. So It's still enough content that they'll get the main point so they don't have to go over and watch all of it. But it is hard to move audiences from one platform to the other, because it's like once they're there, they're like, we're not going to go anywhere else. But yeah, I feel like the shorts, I feel like for me is just like an extra promotion, and it's an easy way to quickly get views and just kind of post content if it's not like your best high quality.
Gotcha.
It's kind of a little interstitial.
So that's how you I was gonna say, like, how do you think of like the strategy of YouTube shorts versus YouTube long form?
Well, you can also connect the YouTube shorts to your long form, which is nice. So if you do make a short, you can connect it to the other one. So if they want to keep watching, and it kind of all circles together. But I do feel like shorts and long form are two very completely different things. Like even my friend's son, like he doesn't ever watch full YouTube videos. He's just scrolling on the shorts
all day long.
Yep.
Where do you see? What's your prediction for YouTube or for social media in general in the next year and a half? Like, where are we going here?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when YouTube announced that they were going to be doing shorts to 3 minutes, I like made some funny videos. Like, wait, okay, if a short is 3 minutes, then what's a full YouTube video? And if this is this, like, doesn't it really make sense? And I think everyone just is kind of continuing to figure it out. I do feel like because YouTube is rewarding sort of that more watching stuff on TV, they do love that long form content, that, I would love to kind of develop a more fun show that's kind of like based around a specific topic. So that's something that I'm throwing around that I'm excited to explore next year.
You said you're always changing, you're always evolving. How are you going to change in the next year? Like, what sort of, are you playing with different formats, playing with different topics? Like, what are you excited about, and kind of how do you come up with ideas?
Yeah, I think I have a bunch of different hobbies that I love, so I think I want to kind of integrate that.
What are the hobbies?
I love diving. I'm a huge, I basically train jiu-jitsu like a professional athlete.
Like scuba diving or like high diving?
Scuba diving, okay. Yeah. So it's like scuba, jiu-jitsu, pickleball. So it's like all of these things. There's so much health tech and tech that can be used to improve your performance. So that's something that I really want to start exploring. And like I said, with health tech, there's just so much out there, and there's so many people that are doing so much really cool research that I really want to kind of like find a home for that and kind of help people.
You can do like an amazing like South Pacific dive tour sponsored by all the different brands. And like, I'm testing all these different things as I go, swim with the humpback whales or you name it, that kind of thing.
No, and like diving is great for testing out underwater cameras, and there's so much really cool dive gear. So being able to kind of just bring more of that sort of to my channel is really been so much fun.
And jiu-jitsu, are you a badass? Can you totally kick ass?
I mean, I trained for 2 hours this morning in New York, which was so fun. Like, that's the best part, is traveling and training, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you find really great gyms all around.
So you came in from LA 2 days ago, yesterday?
Last night.
And you still got, what time did you train?
From 7 to 9.
How do you find a gym?
Recommendations from friends. Yeah.
How was New York versus LA?
Oh, it was great. Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Do people know who you are?
Every once in a while, that was also weird because I never used to post about like my jiu-jitsu journey until like a couple years ago. And so I'd show up at gyms and they're like, what are you doing here? This is so weird. So yeah, that's it's fun because it's like you have this instant kind of bond with somebody over sort of your familiar hobby.
That's so cool. You've been doing this for so long. If you were gonna let's say you were gonna start your creator career right now, what advice would you give yourself? You have, 2007 advice, right? That's like, my math is horrible. That's like what?
It's a long time.
17 years of education, of learning through mistakes, through growth, through all this. Like, you started before there were iPhones. That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I started my channel in 2006.
2006?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
But I think I started more consistently posting in 2007.
Okay.
But yeah, it's my birth date. I think it's like October 2006. I'm not sure. But either way.
So what's like the biggest lesson you would give yourself?
Don't quit. I mean, that's bottom line. When people are like, well, how did you do this for so long? I'm like, well, I just didn't stop. I mean, I've definitely have taken breaks, and I also don't talk about when I'm taking the breaks because people make this huge thing. They're like, I'm taking a break. Oh my God. And like, it's so dramatic. And then people kind of just like, well, if they're taking a break, I'm not even going to pay attention. So it's kind of like, you can do it subtly. You can kind of post things, have some content that's evergreen that you can post whenever if you like have an emergency that you need to take a break. So I feel like that's something that has really helped me. And I think also consistency, which kind of goes hand in hand with, okay, I'm taking a break. You need to have that backup content.
Take me through what is the life of a video for you? Take me from like idea into like storyboard, film, how you cut it up and spread it through all the different platforms. Like, take me like from step one to the final steps.
Yeah. So for iPhone season, I decided that I was going to go to Hawaii.
I love how you have like iPhone season.
Oh no, iPhone season, that's September. Like, I basically planned my entire year around September.
How long does it last? It's like Christmas in September?
It's basically September. Yeah. So the iPhone will come out, we'll go do the event. And then I flew to Hawaii like the next day with the phone. And then I went with a videographer, and I had this list of videos that we were going to shoot. And then we basically just kind of scripted out the week, what we were going to be filming, what videos there's going to be. I had like some talking points for each one. And then we just filmed for like 3 or 4 days straight, and then edited for 3 or 4 days straight. So I think I didn't sleep for maybe 48 hours leading up to the launch of one of those.
And when you do these different scenes in Hawaii, for example, what are you trying to show off certain iPhone features, or you just want to just do cool shots?
It's usually like we'll do features. So like, for example, like one of the videos was just a camera test. So we went to this really cool ranch, rode some horses, tested out the zoom, the slow-mo, and it's like being in that element, but showing you like if you were to go on this vacation and you had this phone, like this is what you can do with it.
No wonder Apple loves you guys. Like, you're taking it into the field, but it's also like super exotic, fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's so like those types of videos are like my favorite to make when there's, not really a brand that's saying you have to do these things. It's just like, here's a phone, go review it and have fun with it.
And so you shoot for 3 days, you edit for 3 days. What is the final product of all that work?
I'll have like, let's say, I think for that one we had like an iPhone 16 video, an iPhone 16 Pro, an Apple Watch video, and then an AirPods video, and then there were a couple
reviewing all those things.
Yeah, and then there was a couple like ancillary things that we also had. But then that's like creating all the social stuff from that too. So it's like you've finished the YouTube, now I have to go spend more hours editing all the social content.
And you do that yourself too?
I mean, thankfully I did have a couple editors helping me, but then everything came to me as the final editing, exporting, thumbnail, everything. So
like 7 days of work, you probably have 45-minute, hour YouTube videos?
Yeah, probably.
And then all the social things?
Yeah. But those are more elaborate videos where there'll be something where I will sometimes film same day, edit that evening, post the next day. So it can be as simple as that.
That's wild. I mean, it's amazing, like the amount of work that goes into what people think is, I'm just throw up a 45-minute video, but these are, like cinematic, highly edited, the whole thing.
For sure. I think that's like the misconception because of short form as well. I think some of it's easy if you're just like filming on your phone, whatever, but it's so much more work that people would ever even imagine.
Do you have any formal, like, I mean, I know you were like a professional video editor, but did you ever take classes in like filmmaking, cinematography, all those sort of things?
I did. I mean, I went to college for, it was kind of like production. So it was like a 2-year school. So we did like editing, filming and stuff like that. So I kind of used all that. But most of the stuff I've learned since has just been trial and error, Google tutorials, and just figuring it out.
YouTube, watching YouTube.
Exactly.
Do you have any plans to go outside of the kind of like I know you mentioned more lifestyle stuff, but would you ever want to get into other forms or do something bigger, longer, so to speak? Or are you just very happy with this great community and brand you've built up?
Yeah, no, I'm always open to something. I think I love doing things that are fun. So if somebody's like, this is going to be a fun project, I'm like, count me in. So yeah, it's great.
Give me a dream. What's a dream project?
Oh, wow. Oh, gee, I don't even know right now. I think I did just do a movie recently, which was actually really fun. I actually filmed it in 2017 and it just was finished.
Wow. Yeah, I'm talking to my Hollywood friends. The timeline and this stuff is crazy.
Crazy, but that's what kind of like turned me off from sort of doing traditional stuff. You know, it's like you film something, it's like it may never come out, it may never actually happen. And sometimes I'll be sitting on set doing nothing and I'm like, I could have filmed 45 YouTube videos right now while I'm just sitting and waiting for someone to call action. So I think it's just such a different perspective, but like I do feel like I would love to do some bigger projects, do some movies or something like that, just to do something a little different.
Yeah, it's funny because you have completely control. Like it's a lot of work, but you know, like I'm going to put the time in and then I'm going to hit the button and then it's out to the world.
Exactly.
Opposed to more traditional or Hollywood. Like you said, it could just be cut, sit. What was the movie?
It was actually based in Pittsburgh, and so it was kind of like the story of 2 kids and like their relationship with Roberto Clemente because they loved baseball.
Okay, cool.
And then I played like the older version of one of the kids, so it was really cool, and especially if you're from Pittsburgh, it's based in like the 70s.
You're from Pittsburgh.
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Okay, very
cool.
So are you a big Pirates fan?
I mean, I was back in the day when
Okay.
I lived there, but you know now I'm just all jiu-jitsu.
Okay, no jiu-jitsu teams.
There's none.
How'd you get into the movie? I mean, the idea of it.
A friend, they had filmed the entire portion of the younger kids, and then a friend who was editing it, her husband was my good friend, and she was like, this girl looks a lot like Justine. Do you think that she would want to be in this movie? Has she done any acting? And I was like, I'll figure it out. And so yeah, came in, filmed for like 4 or 5 days, and that was it.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, the more you're out there, the more opportunities that come.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is you know, I'd like to sort of just say yes to things because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you can always figure it out. Well, at least I know I can. So I don't know if everyone can, but I feel like you probably could.
What is where are we going with all this? What is like your biggest prediction for social media? Like I hear there's some statistic there, you know, I forget what it is. It's a huge amount of, let's say, Gen Z people want to be creators and influencers. I don't know if any industry can accept that amount of that much inflow, especially what do you think, where are we headed in social media? What's like the future?
I mean, I feel like everyone is kind of a creator, even if you don't have sort of like a lot of followers, or it's like people are creating and sharing their lives, sharing stuff that they like. So it really is turning into sort of this user generated world where people don't even realize that they're creators. You know, they're just posting. And I think AI is going to be huge in sort of all of this space, because it's kind of how do we harness AI to not take jobs, but like use it to just give us a little more free time, be able to do our jobs better.
So give me an example. What's your perfect example? In a perfect world, what is AI doing for us or for you?
I mean, I would love for it to be able to do a quick, rough edit of my videos. And even simple things like that AI has been helpful for me for is like fixing audio, doing small little things like that. Generative AI in Photoshop, helping to take these huge PDFs, brand briefs that people will send, and you know, bringing that down to a small, understandable chunk of content, and then turning that into a quick script. And then I take it and make it into an actual script of something that I would say.
I think we're close to that. And
yeah.
I'm also seeing...
No, that's what I'm doing.
Nice,
like,
that's what I'm saying, yeah. And I'm saying I think we're seeing ads now about, like, I don't know if I haven't done it yet, but like just here's your big sloppy, you know, video, and will AI edit it? I don't know how good it will be, but it sounds like that's happening.
I've tried some. They're not super great, or the framing, and because I'm an editor myself, I'm like, oh no, don't do that. But what I do like is, like, I've used some things where I'm able to, like, instead of having to record VO, I can just type, and in my voice, it'll automatically just do the voiceover for me in my voice. Yeah.
Which one's that? What program is that?
I was using DID, which is actually really cool because you basically make
DID is called? Okay.
Yeah, so like I made a whole avatar like of myself and I can type it in. And they even have, this was awesome. They do like a translate feature. So one of my friends, she's from Brazil. And so we had gone to dinner and ate at like this Brazilian restaurant. So then I sent her this video back that said, wow, one trip to, the Brazilian steakhouse and I can speak fluent Portuguese. And she was like, what just happened? Like it blew her mind.
This was a very good steak, right? They served you the steak on the
yes.
the sword. And
it was so good, but it was like, oh, this will be funny. I wonder if this will actually work. And she's like, yeah, it sounded great. Like, I mean, here and there you can tell that your voice was sort of a little different just because of the mouth movements, but it was pretty awesome.
What's your prediction? Because I love how you've been doing this for so long. You work with giant brands. You score major interviews with CEOs. What's your advice for like, quote, traditional media, quote, old school media, like Forbes, where everyone's a content producer, but also, we're an established media company. We have a brand, we've been around for 100 years, but we also need to make that personal connection. Like if you were the head of Forbes right now, what would you be, head of Forbes social media, what would you tell everyone to do?
So are you going to start a vlog channel now, like going through your daily life?
Yes, give me your hat. You can watch me make my coffee with my kids screaming in the background and mopping the floor.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people want to see, which is kind of wild. But I think just making that personal connection and actually talking to the audience is so important. And, not coming from it, like from a big establishment. It's like, hey, look, I'm just your friend. I happen to work at this company and I get these cool opportunities. So it's like just being present and talking to them like they're people, because they are.
And what are the powers of like a big Forbes brand in social media now? Besides, like you had the connection, but also obviously, whether it's in Apple, whether it's a Spotify, whether it's a Microsoft, like there is credibility there. What's the best way to kind of use that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge part of it is that trust. So it's like you guys have also built that trust. So I think for a lot of audiences, that's so important to them.
I want to thank iJustine for joining us at Forbes Top Creator. Thank you so much.
Thank you.